Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to our Save a Weekend here at Super Soul Farm. We're sitting here live with about 30 eager devotees excited to serve. They're actually very excited to serve. They're all inspired. We had a great evening kirtan and prashad last night, and everybody's up and early, and they're all like, I don't know, I'd say like 75% of them are from the hardcore scene, except Mara, who's not. Mara, Cindy, no, Steve Walters, he's like, I never heard hardcore. I was a fish guy.
Fish.
You know, Fish the band, not Fish the fish, not Fish the fish. Not a fish and chips guy. If you're new to the show, listening on Facebook, we do the study, the Srimad Bhagavatam, ancient teachings of the yogic path, how to reconnect the soul with the source. It's a great show, and it's a great community. And today is Q&A day. Usually do it at 8 o'clock. We're doing it 7 this morning so we can get on with our seva, our service. And if you want to join the podcast live on a daily program, you can join us on Zoom. We got a big group on Zoom today. Just email this lady, Miss Mara, at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, and she'll give you the secret codes to enter into our witches' coven. You can join us here. They're all here. All your favorite faces on Zoom are here today. It's like a big 3D Zoom reunion where you can touch the Zoom people. Previously, they're just two-dimensional Zoomers. Now the naked Viking comes out of the screen. He actually has clothes on. You know, everyone. Jai Subhadra's here, Yvette's here, all our usual people on Zoom. You know, Banjo Mike, Michelle Berger, they're all here. It's exciting.
Nice.
And so we got some questions. Before we go any further with our questions, we want to make our announcement about our Wisdom of the Sages Rath Yatra retreat, New York Rath Yatra. If you ever want to come to the Big Apple, this is your chance to come. And we have a spiritual retreat, and then there's a massive parade down Fifth Avenue, a Krishna parade. What? Yes, a Bhakti Krishna parade down Fifth Avenue. Same place they have the maybe not the Thanksgiving Day parade, but other parades, other whatever. What else do they have down Fifth Avenue?
They do a lot of parades. They do Columbus Day. They do
Columbus Day.
The St. Patrick's.
Yeah. So if you want to come, we do our own parade, the Bhakti parade, and it's very fun. And then there's a big party in the park. And that's going to be a great day. But we're doing a retreat that weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the retreat will walk over for a field trip down the parade. We tell stories of Lord Jagannath. I teach a yoga class.
That retreat, it begins officially like on the evening of Friday, where we always do a program on the roof of the Bhakti Center, which is always really cool. Yeah. And very special guests can arrive for that. It's always possible. We can't announce that now, but you never know. You're right. It's
Top
like
secrets. I'm
yeah,
just
it's
gonna say
likely.
they're
But
special.
even that whole Friday, actually, there's kirtan in Tompkins Square Park. With incredible kirtan leaders and everything. That's not officially part of the retreat, but you show up a little early and you get a whole day of that too. It's one of the most fun retreats we do. So
Yeah, it
try
is.
to come to that if you can. You got to
Yeah, go
figure
to
out where you're going to
Bhakti.
stay. But
Yeah, yeah.
other than
We're
that,
all staying at Kostuba's apartment. Come on, woo! I thought it was included in the retreat. Yeah. So just go to bhakticenter.org and you can register
look
there.
for that. Yeah.
All right. So any other announcements, Miss Mara?
Bhakti
Always.
Recovery Group meeting at 9:30 today, and Nityananda Chandra's shloka memorization. I think it's at 10 a.m. this morning.
Nope. It got moved to Monday
Oh, okay, great,
because he's coming up here for the Save a weekend.
great.
And interview tomorrow.
Yeah, who are we interviewing tomorrow?
This devotee, amazing devotee, Naveen Krishna Prabhu. He's heads up. He's got a whole history of amazing things he's been involved with in the development of bhakti in the UK. But especially our topic will be the Avanti schools that he runs, which are these schools in England. I think they're government, largely government funded. But they include teachings of yoga and bhakti and healthy morals, and it's really.
How can we get one of these schools in America?
I think there's talk of it.
Things are falling apart here in the schools. It's a real mess. I just
Schools
talked
are
to Josh Subudra yesterday. She's a substitute teacher. She's like the third graders. They're out of control. They're driving her crazy. They're sassy.
Okay, we'll
I
try to
wasn't
figure that
sassy.
out
You
tomorrow.
couldn't be sassy when I was a kid.
I was.
You couldn't be right. You couldn't be sassy.
Well, you just get in a little trouble for it.
You get in a lot of trouble. And the principals were like, "You scared of." My principal was so scary when I was in elementary school. You didn't dare step out of line.
You want to bring back the scary principles?
Maybe. My principal once grabbed me by the shirt and shook me.
I had that kind of thing too, but
yeah, one of those principals.
Neck, yeah.
Grab you by the neck. You could grab kids by the neck in the old days. Everything's nothing. I don't know. There's got to be some balance between being like cool and loving, and the kids just like respecting that.
Okay.
What do we
let's get into the questions.
Let's get the Avanti.
Let's not try to solve the academic questions of America right now. We'll do that tomorrow. Are you ready?
Oh my! Sometimes I laugh. I laugh so hard I gotta faint. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, why don't you read the first question?
All right, ready for
It's
you?
a 3-level question, but the third question I think is the big one.
All righty. This is from Sherry Yannick. We love
Yeah.
Sherry Yannick from Oceanside, California. I have a few questions.
Okay.
What are the flowers growing on Kostuba's windowsill?
Yeah. Should we do them one at a time?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. These are
We've
begonias.
all
right
wanted
here.
to know this question, Kostuba.
They're begonias.
It's on everybody's mind. Begonias. We use begonias in our puja.
And she asked about the seedlings.
Yeah, what are the seedlings? What is she zooming into your apartment on Zoom? She's like enlarging the screen.
These seedlings are marigolds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got 3 of them. They're nice because you can offer them. It's nice to grow things yourself and offer them to Radha and Krishna, right, in the little temple.
Yeah.
So we got a few of these boxes. And marigolds also, like, you don't need screens on the window when you have them because, like, they kind of prevent, like, the flies or bugs from, they kind of back off when they see the marigolds. Yeah.
Yeah, they are sort of repel insects. Pestis,
that's what those are.
natural pest repellents.
Okay. The next question. Raghu, anytime you're ready.
Things are moving slow here today. What is Mara knitting now?
Mara?
These are great questions here.
I'm making a scarf.
Making scarves.
It's always scarf. We got to see a sweater. We got to see.
I know.
Take it to the next level.
Make a neck.
Maybe what are those big Afghan blankets? Do you ever do anything like that?
No, not yet.
She's into scarves and she makes little chutters for my deities.
Oh, that's right.
Little chutters.
Okay. And then the third question.
It seems that Bhakti Yoga is male dominated with its characters and stories, examples, and teachers. Can you give me examples of good women in Bhakti to follow? Stories, authors, books, teachers, examples, etc. I love any story about Radha, but would love to dive more into the women of Bhakti.
Okay.
Kostuba, what do you got for that?
Oh, I got a
I know
lot.
you're going right to Queen Kunti, aren't you?
Well, Queen Kunti is only one. So many.
know,
I mean, as far as stories, you can draw a lot out of Mahabharata and Ramayana.
Mm.
Right. In Ramayana, they have, I think it's called the Panchakanya, like 5 important women. Among them are Sita, Ahalya,
Wow.
Tara, Mandodari, and I'm forgetting the others. But yeah, there's that. I think Kunti may be included in that as well. I think Kunti may be included in
that. That's Ravana's wife.
Ravana's wife is Mandodari, yeah. And in the Mahabharata, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Uttara, Satyavati, all like really important women, all worth knowing about. Even it's not even just like even like someone like Satyavati, she was like responsible for, not that she was like the queen, but she was, she was making moves and helping establish the government and so on like that,
She was the queen. She was married to Shantanu.
I suppose in that way. I'm saying long after he passed away.
Okay.
Yeah. But all of there's so much to learn from the lives of all of these women in Mahabharata. So it's worth getting a good edition of Mahabharata. We always like to recommend the Krishna Dharma version. Also the what's the name of it?
Subramaniam.
So, yeah, Subramaniam one. So
the bigger the Mahabharata, the more in depth you get into the characters, and you can fall in love with them more. And then you feel the pain they're going through, and you feel their joy that they're going through. So Mahabharata,
the teachings, the examples that they set are amazing.
Kylie says Johnny.
Well, I'm going to Gauralila next.
Okay.
And so there, of course, you have Vishnu Priya, you have Sachi Devi, but in one sense, maybe the most interesting one to follow is Janava Devi, who she was the wife of Nityananda, and in the beginning of our Sampradaya, right, the beginning of the Chaitanya branch of the the Gaudiya Sampradaya, this lineage, she was the leader, like the most respected person. Even the biggest names like Jiva Goswami and Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasacharya, these were the people that established this lineage, the first generation after Sri Chaitanya. She was actually the one they all took guidance from and took direction from. Fascinating character. You can read a book called the Bhakti Ratnakara, which deals with that time in history and all of those characters, and you can learn a lot about her there. There's a book by Satyaraj Prabhu, Stephen Rosen, called Vaishnavi. Well, we'll get to books in a moment, but within Gaur Leela, there's so much. There's also other historical figures that aren't exactly from our lineage, but are great Vaishnavas like Mirabai. And of course, Andal. Andal was one of the 12 Alwars, the mystic poets that go way back in history, that go back, way far back. And her poetry is, to this day, considered very important in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, beautiful poetry. So there's a lot there. Modern day, right? Let's say in our own world, I would say even just within the Hare Krishna movement, there are incredible examples, right? Maybe the most prominent, Yamuna Devi, right? Disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Malati, these are some of the original powerful missionaries of the Hare Krishna movement. There's a lady Hladini who gave her life, to teach bhakti, in the Middle East, was killed for it. There's Vishaka, who's got her whole history, as a photographer, as a writer, currently temple president of the Bhaktivedanta Manor, probably the largest, most important temple in England, maybe in Europe. Of course, there's Rukmini, who we've had on the show before, an incredibly important teacher. There's teachers like Narayani. When you and I used to go to, when we were like young devotees and we used to go to Vrindavan to study there, there are important teachers like Narayani, like Srimati, like Jagatarini. These are all, people that you can still meet and hear from today.
Hmm.
Right? There's a new generation of younger ladies coming up, people that we've had on our show, like Janavi and Danya, and so many more. Right? And if I'll tell you something, if you just look at our sage group leaders, right? Like we've been talking about, we'll plug it again, but sign up for if you want to take your bhakti to another level. If you listen to the podcast and want to go deeper into it, you join a sage group, small groups. There you go to wisdomthesages.com/sage groups. And there you will find a whole list of different sage groups you can join at different times with different sage group leaders, opportunities to discuss and share and make friends and all of that. And if you look at the ladies that are there, they're all fantastic. And some of them are just like super accomplished women. There's Ananda Vrindavan, who's the temple president of the temple in DC.
Get in
a whole
her
history
group.
of incredible
Get in
service.
Ananda's group if you're not.
What's that?
Get in Ananda's group if you're not.
I think that one's already full.
Sold, okay.
Yeah, but you can check it. Maybe it's not. I think it is. Akadashi Vrata, Prabhupada's disciple, amazing lady. Indranila Mani, doing it with her daughter Shamali, powerful devotee. Kunti Devi, Loka Devi. These are the women with like powerful positions in the world and just deep devotees. Vrajalila has come on our team now. She's like a whole pioneer of developing bhakti in Africa. She co-developed the applied was it IFAST, the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology. She's heads up, the International Devotee Care Committee. I mean, just so many. She's got. You read her bio on our Sage Group list of Sage Group leaders. It's like super accomplished, powerful woman, deep devotee. Shraddha Devi, who lives upstate, not too far from you, Raghunath. A Master of Theology degree from Harvard Divinity School. Learned in Sanskrit and theology. Wonderful devotee. So there's so many powerful women, so many great examples. In one sense, this is just scratching the surface. Those are just people just amongst our Sage Group leaders, and we have so many others, amongst our Sage Group leaders. And I'd say, but some nice books to read about this. There's a book that came out not so long, a few years back, called The Bond of Love, Srila Prabhupada and His Daughters, right? Where there's writings from different female disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And a fascinating book to read is Yamuna Devi, A Life of Unalloyed Devotions, Part 1 and Part 2. And there's even a third part that came out now. That book is fascinating and it gives you insights into the life of maybe the most celebrated disciple of Srila Prabhupada, one of the deepest of the devotees that are followers of Srila Prabhupada. She passed away, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 8 years ago or something like that. Incredibly learned, powerful, accomplished, a whole history of service to Srila Prabhupada, fascinating woman. And to read that book, you get insights into what it was like to be a woman in ISKCON growing up, the different challenges, how she navigated them. Fascinating book. There's a book by Vishaka Devi called 5 Years and 11 Months. That's a fascinating book, great insights in there. And there's a book I mentioned earlier, Vaishnavi, Women and the Worship of Krishna by Stephen Rosen, which is more of an academic book, but with different scholars writing about women's issues in terms of Vaishnavism from all different angles. And then there's groups to join and things to get involved with today. Urban Devi, which is headed up by Rukmini, which is, it's a monthly get together, online that's looking at Vaishnavism from a woman's perspective. And they also host retreats and do other kind of online events. So Urban Devi is definitely something to check out. I think there's another Vaishnavi Sangha out there called Heart to Heart. That's I think that's led by Vrajalila. So there's a lot out there. You know, I'm just throwing this stuff out. If you dig in other places, you'll find a lot more. But anything you would like to share, Raghunath?
You covered it all there. I think that's
I did
good.
a little research. I
That's
listed
good.
it all down.
That's good.
Yeah. Nothing?
You covered it all. I think
Okay.
that I can think of.
Didn't
You've
mean to steal
covered
your
more
thunder
than I even
there.
thought. I thought of a bunch of things that you thought of. You've thought of
I got
even
'em.
more of that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just leave it with that. That was very good.
Okay. All right. I hope that's helpful, and just reach out to us or to any of those ladies, and they'll be able to help you more. I think, you know, dig in deeper and deeper. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of, I tell you, when I look around the Hare Krishna movement, I see so many incredible women,
Mm.
left and right, you know. So if you're a little isolated and you're not picking up on it, just reach out, you know, and dig a little deeper, and I think you'll begin to find more and more of these people.
When Mara started coming around, I gave her that book. It's sort of a pieced together, rough historical novel of Mirabai, which is a great read.
Oh yeah, what's that called?
It's called Follow the Cowherd Boy.
Oh, Follow the Cow.
She's like a saint, not in our lineage, who became like a folk hero. And of course, she was a princess of Rajasthan in the 1500s. And she just sort of relinquished the kingdom and became a sadhu. And you could just go to YouTube and listen to her songs, you know, that like have just become popular for hundreds of years. She left Rajasthan, went to Varanasi, got initiated, they say she met Lord Chaitanya, and she has
met Lord
ashram.
Chaitanya or met Sanatana Goswami?
Well, they said they met both.
Okay.
Both, actually. Yeah. She was looking for Lord Chaitanya, but she met Sanatana Goswami. And then she went to Vrindavan, and she has a little ashram in Vrindavan, and her descendants are still there. You can go to her little ashram there. But it's a great book, Follow the Cowherd Boy.
Follow the Cowherd Boy.
Who wrote that?
Somebody
Joshi.
Okay.
But you get a real glimpse of what it was like to be in Rajasthan back then during the Mughal rule. And it was quite moving.
And of course, you know, in Bhagavatam, Kunti is very prominent, you know, a chapter devoted to her prayers. It's one of the most, you know, opening chapters of, you know, that's wealth right there, and many other places too.
Mm-hmm. Well, someone just put it on the board, the message board. Okay. All right. What else we got here?
Next question. Oh, why don't I read this next question, because it was a very long one, and I kind of broke it down and summarized it a bit.
Okay.
This is a fascinating question here. So
by the way, if you have a question, you can just write to us at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. We'll read your question. We'll give it an answer if we can.
Okay.
Okay, Prabhu, go on.
So this is written anonymously. But I'll summarize a long part of it, and then the last two paragraphs of it I'll read straight, and that's where the question lies. You ready?
Yep.
So this is from a person in India, a gentleman in India, currently 32 years old, single, working in the banking, finance, trading industry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He grew up with a single parent, as his father died in the war with Pakistan when he was 1 year old. He belonged to a very spiritual family, with his maternal uncle initiated in the Hare Krishna movement, and mother and grandfather always worshiping the deities every day. So they had a little temple in their home, and they were kind of pious Krishna devotees. Throughout life, he had to be very self-sufficient and do things through hard work and persistence. And this effort and reward system in life, you know, he saw, I work hard, I get results, you know. It caused him to cherish and hold rewards very dear to himself, right? When you work hard for your things in life, a lot of times people that don't, they get a lot and they don't appreciate it so much. This person, he said, he uses these words, it caused him to cherish and hold rewards very dear to himself. So much so that at 29 years of age, he never once looked to God or or any higher purpose of living except for the material surface level things. All right. So he's like, this is how the world works, right? You work hard,
Right.
you get things. This is from his angle of perception. That's how he understood life.
Hmm.
He became a successful entrepreneur by the age of 29, owning a gym chain and a clothing line with 140 employees. And this accomplishment gave him immense pride in himself.
Mhm.
Okay. Then COVID set in. And during COVID, his entire business was wiped out. The
Wow.
gyms, they just shut him down, right?
Yep. Yoga.
So
We got a bunch of yoga teachers here. We know all about it.
yeah. So during COVID, his entire business was wiped out. His business partners' families, members all died. All his savings were lost. And his perfect relationship, I assume a romantic relationship, right, was broken. And in this, in a sense, all this, worked so hard, accomplished so much, and then it's all disappears.
Mm.
And in that state during COVID, he decided to move from India to Singapore.
Mm.
Okay, he was denied entry into Singapore.
Mm.
So he's trying to get into Singapore. He can't get in. Apparently, there's some kind of hope for some kind of business opportunity there or something.
Ever go to
Now,
Singapore?
I've never been there. No.
Nice place. Very nice place.
Okay.
A lot of Indians too. A lot of Indians there
Yeah,
too.
I know that. So he said, now, during this time, this struggle, this difficult period in his time, his uncle used to send Guranga Das Prabhu mini clips about Bhagavad Gita on the family WhatsApp group. Interesting, right?
Huh. She's been on our show, Guranga Das.
My wife has like a family WhatsApp group. The family just stays together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My family would not be interested in a family WhatsApp group. We'd all be like, remove myself from this group.
Everybody's got it on mute. So Guranga Prabhu, who we've had him on the show, we got to bring him back on the show. We had him a long time ago, but
It's quite impressive. I could see him being like a prime minister of India.
He could do it. Yeah, he could
one
do
of these
anything.
Powerful people.
Yeah. So he does. You could Google him, but he's got a lot of little video clips that he puts out. He puts them out every day now. So like his uncle was sharing these clips, and it's kind of like you were saying, like a tell a friend Friday. It's kind of when he needed it, it clicked with him. It was there. Right. So he said during this time, his uncle used to send Guranga Das Prabhu mini clips about Bhagavad Gita on the family WhatsApp group. He had always been into self-development and decided to give reading the Bhagavad Gita a try. Right? So he's like, I guess Guranga presented it in a way that appealed to his intelligence in a particular way, like become a better person through this, right? So something clicked and said, okay, well, maybe I'll give that Bhagavad Gita a try. Another example of how like difficult times in life can be a blessing. He opened up a little bit to something that he might not have been open to before, right? And he starts to listen to Bhagavad Gita. And he said he had this experience where he went on he's a runner. He'll run for like an hour and a half at a time. And he went on this 90-minute run, listening to the audio book of Bhagavad Gita by Srila Prabhupada. Mm-hmm. And on that run, he's listening to this and he starts to pray very sincerely in his heart to Krishna. Hearing the instructions about how Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, he became inspired. And he had some kind of special experience, mystical, powerful, moving experience on this run. He said, I felt such a divine presence and all my anxieties just went away, even though he was materially, everything was screwed up.
Sometimes when you read the Bhagavad Gita or some sacred literature like that, you just sit down and read it and everything melts away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that experience began to change his life, and he developed a deeper interest in Bhagavad Gita, and he said, I gave up eating meat out of respect, right? Like, okay, there's something here. It's got certain values. I want to follow those values. He gave up eating meat. And he said at this point in his life, some Krishna miracles kind of happened in his life, right? Some far out things. He's going deeper. He's going deeper into prayer. He's beginning to give up bad habits, and he's feeling God's presence in his life. He said, after 2 days of praying and listening and inquiring more. So just as he had this life-changing experience, he's 2 days later, he's praying intensely, he's listening to Gita intensely, he's inquiring more about Krishna, he's doing research, and then out of nowhere, his university told him that he was the only person out of 100 who magically got entry approval to enter Singapore. And he tied these things two together. He said, it seems like because I'm giving my life in this way, I've developed this interest, I'm changing my habits, that he felt a connection between that and this, mathematically very unusual opening in his life. And he said, for him, he said, this was enough evidence for me to continue the faith. And he was feeling ecstatic. He was feeling energized by this new attitude in life, this new entry of Bhagavad Gita and his teachings. And then there was a second miracle. This is after he's in Singapore, I believe. He said there was a big crypto crash.
Crypto crash.
Crypto crash. I don't even know exactly what that means, but I assume it's something like a stock market crash.
My life's so crashed, I don't even know what a crypto crash is.
Okay. So there was a big crypto crash. He got laid off by his company. And being a foreigner in Singapore at the peak of COVID, employment passes were very hard to get. So am I even going to be able to stay here? Right.
Wow.
He was on the brink of losing his mind and going back to India with just $10 left to his name. And he had just 1 week left on his visa to reside in Singapore. He's going to go back to India broke with nothing. And out of nowhere, on Janmashtami, on the birthday of Krishna, he got a job offer for a role that he had applied to a year ago. Okay, he's like, oh, Krishna's saving me, right? He was ecstatic, and even though he had no money at that moment, he borrowed money from friends so that he can serve the migrant worker devotees, organizing a feast for 100 people. This is the Hindu mentality, right? It's like there's a beautiful part of it, like, let me serve others. If I get any good fortune in my life, let me please God and please others by organizing a feast, feeding people, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful culture. Okay. Now he says, fast forward to today. You ready?
Yep.
I'm going to read directly from his letter. He said, I kept the regulative principles and all in order. So that means he began to regulate his life in order to live a yogic life, right? Into sexually, in terms of his diet, and other regulations in life, including, alcohol or drugs, cut those out of his life and so on. So he says, I kept the regulative principles and all in order, but I have now slipped hard. Okay, while I read and listen to lectures and am a total nerd about the scriptures and watch everything there is about lectures on Bhagavatam and Gita, I am practicing demonic habits, and once again, which is eating meat and drinking alcohol. Okay, I feel ashamed, and I can't even chant or pray, thinking I'm not qualified. After having all these realizations and knowing what Prabhupada says, that if you commit sins knowingly, then you are a rascal. So he's feeling, we were talking about self-loathing yesterday, remember, Raghunath?
Right. Yeah, how we want to feel good about ourselves, we beat ourselves up, and auspiciousness comes from dharma, and feeling good about yourself comes from living with integrity.
Right.
And so, for sure, and it's the very thing that's sort of like killing us that we can't stop doing. It's important. The fact that he's like seeing this is a huge thing. A lot of people think like, I'm not a rascal. This is great. I'm just like enjoying life. The fact that he's like, I'm struck. At least it's shining light on his bad habits, and he knows it. He's not making excuses. He's not making excuses. He's like, I'm a rascal. I'm trapped here. And he's reaching out. He's writing a question. He's reaching out. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing.
Okay. So he continues. I think the problem is that I'm a single guy and trying to find a partner to settle down with. I cannot find people with good faith. And since I work in the finance and trading industry, I am deeply surrounded by materially absorbed people everywhere.
Yeah.
If I go out with people and not indulge in meeting and drinking, I feel like I cannot socialize. And I love being social, as I used to be really successful using it to do networking. Right? Tough position.
It's tough to be a single guy out there in the world.
I mean, that's
Guys,
another.
you
We
agree
can
with
get
me,
into that.
guys? Yeah.
But the stability helps us practice bhakti, and we can get into that more. Okay, so he says, I know what the correct thing to do is, and I know what I am doing is completely messed up, but I am totally lost once again. And even though I listen to lectures, read, and pray, I know I am not worth it, and think Krishna has totally left me. Feels bereft, right?
He needs the Bhakti recovery group. That's what he needs.
We can talk about that too. He says, I do not know what to do, and I want to know if I have any hope, right? I saw a path, and it seems like I can't walk the path. After knowing what this blissful path is, I feel like the ideals are tremendously hard to achieve. And being a perfectionist, either I want to achieve those standards or just not achieve anything at all. Like either I'm full on into this, and if I can't do it, then I'm not going to do it at all, right? Please guide me. I think I need a strong association, which is lacking here. I think the only reason I could feel Krishna's presence, etc., was that at the time, I used to not eat meat and chant and not drink. I was very sincere in my approach without having any ulterior motives and desires, and I think that's what the Lord reciprocated with. But now I have offended him with my actions, and I'm nothing but a hypocrite and a mudha, meaning a fool. Right? Okay.
I like this guy.
I do too. You want to start, Raghu?
I appreciate your sincerity and your analysis, but for the perfectionist, we got to see it's progress, not perfection.
Okay, good. That's a good. That's first takeaway. I think that's
it's
a good
progress, not perfection, and there's an ideal, and then there's what's real, and I've talked to a bunch of people even here this weekend, and we're saying that it's really the association. A lot of us are isolated from other devotees that are here. We have about 35 people going to be here today. So it's sort of like a lot of us, we have our lives, and we have our families, and we have careers, and that's not woven necessarily in with a bhakti community. Our bhakti community is wisdom of the sages, or our bhakti community is maybe a friend or our spouse. But we need association of other devotees. Now, we can get that listening to a YouTube video of a lecture. We can get that, listening to an audiobook. And but we need friends, and we need partners, and we need to come together, and we need little pilgrimages or weekend immersions or some type of retreat together, because it's that association that keeps us strong so we can go on to face the world in high consciousness. Because as powerful as we are, we're actually tiny, and the material energy is so much more powerful and could snap us. So we need the association. I need the association of just like having these people around me. It keeps me strong, and it brings out the best in me. And when I'm weak, they can lift me, and when they're weak, I can lift them. And we use the example of one twig is easy to snap, 30 twigs is very difficult to snap those twigs. So by the association of people also on a path, it helps us become the person we want to be. So we have to find people in our lives that inspire us, and spend time, resources, whatever it takes to keep them close to us. I'm lucky I have people in my life that I've kept close for the last 30 years. You included, my friend. You included.
Thank you for being there for me.
Yeah, well, because we have an ideal of what we want to be, and those ideals are very far-fetched if I don't have that company. Right. If you want to become an Olympic swimmer, an Olympic athlete, you got to hang out with other Olympic athletes.
Right.
It helps you because they're going to push you, and they're going to know the weaknesses and the strengths, and they'll have some insight that you don't have, and you'll give something back to them as well. Mm-hmm. So it's no different in our spiritual life. We want to be with Olympic spiritualists who are like really climbing high. And that's why we go on pilgrimages. That's why we have retreats, etc. So we can get some insight, we get some info, we get to look at our lives. And even if you're doing good in your spiritual life, You want some inspiration from someone else who's coming from a different, maybe coming from a different place, different vantage point. Your desire to want to get better, Mr. Anonymous, is a beautiful thing, and it's going to happen if you desire it. So don't beat yourself up. There's tons of hope because we can change our life right now. Someone said to me, yeah, man, I got to give up A, B, C, and D. I was like, yeah, you got to give it up. Yeah, that's all you got to do is just give it up. It's like, you got to throw your hands up and give it up to Krishna. They said, well, what if I fall backwards? I go, don't fall backwards. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. How do you not do that? You got to just stay humble, Krishna. And the interesting thing is once you do give up a vice, here come the demons. Why are you giving this up? Oh, you're crazy. You need this to stay healthy. There's millions of whatever that vice is. The demons will come up and they'll give you their arguments. It's like a whole court in session. The demons have the floor. And be careful because they're going to try to talk you out of it. But you got to understand, once you take that vice away, the emotions start to come up. Your anger, your frustration, this tension inside you. And that is a very beautiful thing because oftentimes we never face our emotions. We medicate our emotions with shopping, with sex, with alcohol, with pot, whatever it is. And we medicate them and we shove those with food, we shove them down. And then when you take those vices away, they all come to the surface and we're left with just our emotions. And when we have those emotions, you got to sort out, why am I angry now? What triggered me and why am I angry? Where is this coming from? And you're left to be sort of like a psychic scientist of what is actually angry in me? Why am I using like lust or shopping or eating to medicate it? What's that about? It's really got nothing to do with food. It's really got nothing to do with pot. It's really got nothing to do with alcohol or meat. It's got to do with me trying to medicate some pain. Why not try to find the source of that pain and go deeper? And you're going to find that this addiction you have to whatever it is going to be the cause of great relief. It's going to be the medicine. By giving it up, it will be the medicine, and Krishna will give you the insight to some deeper brokenness that you're left to repair. And it's going to be quite beautiful in the healing of that, because in the healing of that, you're going to find a deeper connection. Thank whatever you're addicted to that's keeping you down, because that's going to be your medicine to heal. Once you give it up, let those emotions rise, face off with those demons, and you're going to have a great gift right there.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. I just got inspired.
No, well, I wanted to address a few things. He says, I'm nothing but a hypocrite. Right?
Yeah.
And he mentions, I feel ashamed and I can't even chant or pray thinking I'm not qualified. So I want to address this first. And we've said on the show before, right, particularly in our lineage, like Sri Chaitanya's lineage, it's really made clear that the only disqualification is hypocrisy, right? It's not weakness in terms of following perfectly different regulations. That's not a disqualification. Your birth, your background, all of these, they're not disqualifications. Your learning, that's not a disqualification. None of these things are just your wealth. None of these things are disqualifications. Mm-hmm. Hypocrisy is the disqualification. Now he says, I'm nothing but a hypocrite. No, you're not a hypocrite. A hypocrite would be if you weren't following this and you were condemning others for not following it. That would be hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Right? This is just you're trying and you're not quite succeeding. You're at the you're at the I'm trying and not succeeding stage. That doesn't make you a hypocrite.
The weakness of heart.
Yeah, some weakness of heart is there, and this is a very common thing. As a matter of fact, it's more common than uncommon, right? It's
actually the opposite of being a hypocrite.
Yeah, that's right.
A hypocrite is like two-faced. You're actually not being duplicitous. You're being straightforward. I can't do this, and I feel completely weak.
Yeah,
and I don't feel qualified.
Yeah,
that's being frank and vulnerable and honest.
That's right.
And that's a qualification. That's not a disqualification.
Yeah. As Ramit is saying here, you're being human. You're not being a hypocrite. You're being human. And so I think you and I could testify, and many, many other people who have, years and decades of experience in practicing bhakti, it's very common that when you first get excited about it, there's a rush of excitement that you feel, and it becomes easy to let go of bad habits, and so on. And then after some time passes, you realize this is a long path. It's not just I'm not going to become liberated within the next few weeks. That actually this is going to become a long path, a lifelong path that I'm going to walk. And then some of those habits may begin to creep back in, and it could be tough. So what you're going through, I don't think you should feel like, oh, everybody else has it together and I don't. I think you're dealing with a very common experience. Right? And you have certain things that are going to make it tough. He mentioned that he said, I think the problem is that I'm a single guy and I'm trying to find a partner to settle down with. And you know what? It's a fact. It's like
Sage group singles. That's what we need.
we need Sage group singles.
Gonna fill that thing up.
but yeah, like having a solid partner in life like that is a very stabilizing thing. It's important, and if you can find that, that's going to help. Not that you can't take steps forward without that, but yeah, that's going to make it a little harder for you. So once you find that, that's going to give you some firmer ground to stand on.
Yeah.
Now, he mentions, I think Krishna has totally left me. I do not know what to do, and I want to know that if I have any hope. And as Raghunath said, there's nothing but the philosophy of bhakti is never a dark path, right? There's always hope, and Krishna never leaves you. That's the thing. Like, he's in the heart of every living being, no matter what gutter we go down. He's there and just waiting, right? Waiting for you just to turn around and say, even what you're saying right now, what you expressed in this question, when you express it to God within your heart, it is heard. And opening up that line of communication is a very powerful step in gaining the strength that you want to gain. Right. So keep that up. Don't, when he said, I'll read it again. He said, I feel ashamed and I can't even chant or pray thinking I'm not qualified. Well, that right there, there's a fallacy in that right there.
Rascal.
No, I'm not
that was
that.
his rascaldom.
But I'm just saying there's a fallacy in that logic that now is the time to pray more than ever. Yeah. Now is the time to chant more than ever, right? Although there's two stages of praying and chanting, right? There's obviously there's gradations in between, but the soul that's free, the fully enlightened soul, they chant and pray out of spontaneous attraction for doing it, because it's natural. Just like you speak to one that you love, you pray to God spontaneously. You chant the names of God, spontaneously, because you relish it so much. Mm-hmm. But for those that are not on that platform yet, we regulate our lives and we do these things so that we can gain, as a practice of yoga, to gain control of the mind, to gain control of the senses. So don't give up the medicine because you're not healed. Take it up and use it as medicine. And then when bhakti is unique because the means and the end are the same, right? But gradually chanting and praying will be spontaneous in you. But now, while you're having trouble regulating your senses, pray more than ever. Chant more than ever. Don't feel ashamed. I can't do these holy activities because I'm not holy. No, do these activities.
I can't go to the hospital. I'm too sick.
Yeah,
that's why you go to the hospital.
That's right.
I'm too sick for the hospital. Those guys won't.
That's right. So that I wanted to point out the fallacy in that logic. A lot of people fall into that logic, right? They feel I'm too dirty to do this. No. Dig into it right now. That's real important. And I think you keyed in on maybe the most essential point here, Raghunath. It sounds like our friend here is a little bit isolated, living in Singapore. It doesn't sound like there's a devotional community that he's a part of. Two things people are mentioning on our chat boards. One is the Bhakti Recovery Group. And two is Sage groups. Even I'm not sure if we still have this time around, but there have been Sage groups where the theme was addictive behavior. I think Braj Bihari was leading that up. I'm not sure if I think both of his are just open now. But I think actually we should kind of tie these two together. And like there should be sage groups that are like people that are participants in the Bhakti recovery group. Like sage groups for people that are doing 12-step recovery. I think that would be a good thing to have. But in any case, both facilities are still there. I know that, a natural reaction might be, well, these are just online. It's not like, I don't have a devotional community right here. Yeah, it's ideal if you have people that you're together with in person, but these groups are powerful and effective. So don't think, oh, just because they're online, it's something artificial. No, it's what the transmission that's going on in these groups, the back and forth that's going on, the sharing that's going on in these groups is real and it's effective. So I would highly recommend. Right now you have the opportunity to join a sage group. Go to wisdomofthesages.com, click on sage groups, look at all the different groups that are there, the different times and so on, and join up one. If there's not one, and this is a message to everyone, if you're going there and you're like, you know what, there's no time that works for me, the ones that did are already all full, I think it may not be there already, but you can write into us and say, hey, I need to join a sage group, but I'm only free at these times. I think we're going to get one of those, I forget what you call those things, but like where you can click, like, these are the hours that I'm open, those doodle kind of things, whatever they call those things.
Interesting.
And so that you can share, hey, I want to join a sage group, but I'm only free these times and there's nothing open anymore at those times. So find yourself a sage group. I'd highly recommend it, and really consider tuning in. Every day we have Bhakti recovery groups, and it's a great place to open up and share, and you'll get the kind of support that you need. It'll help you take those next steps. Here's one of the major points, and this is where you started, Raghunath, where it's not about perfection, it's about progress. He's mentioned a couple things here. He's eating meat and he's drinking alcohol, and he's obviously having trouble just giving them up cold turkey. If you can't give them up cold turkey, that's all right. Tighten the screws on it, right? In other words, make small steps. If you drink this much alcohol right now, then bring it down to next, like limit it, regulate it, drink less. If I drink every night now, say I'm only going to drink on the weekends. Take one step forward like that, to tighten the screws on it, and step by step. If you do that and you get this association and you continue to pray and you continue to read from Bhagavatam, listen to the podcast, step by step, you'll get that strength that you need. Don't lose heart because the hill seems too high. Take your first steps, and your first steps here come in the form of getting the association that you need and beginning to regulate these habits, even a little bit, right? Like Srila Prabhupada did that with Shyam Sundar Prabhu, right? He was smoking a couple packs a day, and he said, just smoke one less every day. And then at the end, you'll never have to smoke them again. And he did it, and it worked, so just gradually tighten the screws. Keep moving forward. In one sense, just that's the essential message here. Keep moving forward, even if it's little steps. Take your little steps, move forward, and you're going to get there.
I like that.
All right. I think we're out of time, Ergo.
I think we're out of time. That went fast.
So we're on tomorrow at 8 a.m., everyone.
8 a.m. I'm not going to be here. I'm just going to solo that.
Is Mara going to help me set it up? Is she going to be there?
Mara?
All right. Thank you.
She'll be there. Okay. I didn't know that.
But just to this morning, my wife was saying, Mara is just so dependable.
She's dependable.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rory, for joining us.
You know why? Because she said because you didn't send me the questions this week. She's like, and she's like, yeah, but Mara is so dependable. Like
Everybody say hi. We got a big group here.
Oh wow! Oh, look at everybody.
Thanks to everybody joining us live on Zoom. If you want to join us live on Zoom, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. You can join us too, or you can just binge on episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. Follow us, like us, and subscribe on YouTube. Comment on the videos and go to Apple Podcasts. Write us a 5-star review. It really helps with our following. And share this with friends. It's always good to share stuff. People going through stuff right now. You can be there for them. Give them some Vedic wisdom, and it might be exactly what they need. Thanks, Ray, for joining us. Put your hands in the air, everybody. It's gonna be a beautiful day.
Is that Jamie Steph Jojo I saw over there?
That's Jamie Step Jojo. That's Govardhan Lal. That's
We'll go over to Love
Jamie
there.
Love. That's Cindy. That's AM Sage Group AM.